All right, guys, something a lot of people often ask is, how do I pick a coach? And the first question for how to pick a coach is, do you even need a coach? And if you need a coach, why do you need a coach? If you figure out why you need a coach, then you'll figure out how to pick a coach, because your why will answer that for you. So here's some potential ideas on a brainstorm on why you might need a coach. So one, you just completely lack information. You're new to the game, you're a beginner, you just don't know what you're doing. So definitely you'll want someone to provide information. But some people already have lots of information with the internet. Information is pretty much ubiquitous. But maybe you still just want some fresh new ideas. You've been training for a while, you've been trying to apply all this different information, but you just want something new, some new approaches. So maybe you want someone with a lot of ideas. Some people just want therapy, you know, someone to be empathetic to their training. They just want to talk about their experience with their training, etc. They pretty much just want a friend. They want someone to kind of hold their hand. And it sounds like I'm making fun of those people, but there are people like that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Some people just want to share their experience. A big one, obviously, is accountability. That's probably one of the most important ones for most people. And I think when we ask for accountability, one thing that's very important is to differentiate between what kind of accountability you need, because that also has an effect on the type of coach you need. So on accountability, do you want someone to push you, or do you want someone to hold you back? Because there are a lot of guys, especially in powerlifting, younger guys, who really just need someone to hold them back or tell them to focus more energy on certain areas rather than just go in the gym, crush it, and go ape shit all the time. So do you need a coach to push you, or do you need a coach to hold you back? Another thing is affirmation. Sometimes a lot of people, because there's so much information out there, they're not sure exactly what to do. They have all these ideas floating around, all these things they want to try, and they just want to mash it together, and they know that that doesn't always work. So sometimes what people want is they just want to know, yeah, that's a great idea, let's try this, this, and this, and let's go with it, right? So affirmation is a big one. One thing that comes along with affirmation is enthusiasm and confidence. So it gives people a bit of an edge, because we know that a program done with enthusiasm and high intensity, we know that a shitty program done with a ton of enthusiasm and intensity is going to be better than a great program done half-assed and questionably. So that's a big one. Affirmation and accountability are probably, in my opinion, the most important ones. So that would cover the why. And then once we figure out the why, we can go down and look at what kind of coach we want. All right, so a coach's experience. So one factor that is who mentored and who coached that coach. Some coaches won't have any mentors or any coaches, but they've become great lifters themselves and coached many great lifters. And some people will have had great mentors and coaches. But it's always interesting to know who coached them, because then you can get an idea of some of the concepts and methods that at least they've tried or have influenced them. Is this coach a good lifter himself or herself? That's obviously a big question. And is that good lifting a result of pure talent, or did they also develop a lot of skill? Obviously, when someone's in the all-time world record range or anything like that, they definitely must have a good skill set. But that's always a good combination to look at. And the same goes with, have they produced good lifters? You might have a coach who's had many, many very talented and gifted people come to that person for coaching. So it looks like, oh, this person's produced, you know, 5 or 6 500-pound bench pressers or whatever. Like here at Dynamo Barbell, we've had over 12 700-pound deadlifters and a few 800-pound deadlifters. But some of them are going to deadlift at least 700 no matter what, to be honest with you, because some of them are just great athletes. Obviously, I like to say that I know how to teach everything as a skill, but that's another thing. So do these coaches produce good skill sets in their lifters is always going to be a good question. One place that I like to look, and it's hard to see it on the internet and everything because people only promote their best lifters, but does this coach, when given athletes who are not very gifted, does this coach make them better? Because if they can make a poor lifter a lot better, then we know that they have a good understanding of how to make improvements. Good. Education. Education is definitely going to be a big one. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis, or not a lot of people, some people put a lot of emphasis on credentials. And you have to decide if you think credentials are a very important thing. So whether the person has like a BA, MA, PhD, or CSCS, whatever credentials they have, is that important to you? Or is this more important to you? Or is it a combination? But when we look at this, you know, we do know that a person who has, say, a PhD in something has spent a lot of time getting educated. So although it might not be focused on powerlifting, their knowledge in this world is very, very broad, which is a big foundation for them to bring into it. But at the same time, as I just said, it's not very focused. So someone doing a PhD who did studies maybe on VO2 max and they did stuff with marathon runners and sprinters, etc., that's not going to carry over as much into powerlifting. Whereas someone who's self-taught and didn't go to school for 8 years or 6 years to do something, they might have just spent a lot more time narrow focused on just strength training. So although they won't be as broad, they will have a narrower focus. So which one's going to be more valuable? That's really up to us to decide. Another thing with people who have a lot of formal education is a lot of them, just like when we look at experience under mentors and coaches, a lot of them are going to be very limited to what their professors preached. So that's a very big thing, because they will be very highly influenced from their professors. But ultimately, what it really comes down to is, do you feel that they have a big knowledge base and a big understanding of that knowledge? So can they apply that knowledge to you? And again, this is kind of something that we have to figure out for ourselves. We have to look at what we need in a coach, and then we have to figure out this aspect, what we value more. Personally, a combination is very important. And lastly, the person themselves. Do you like this person? Do you like their personality? Obviously that's going to be important because you plan on working with this person, and you know, maybe they're so good that you can put up with their shitty personality, or maybe they're so awesome as a person that you just like them as a coach even though they might not be as equipped as other coaches. That's really up to you to decide. One thing that I think is very important is this person very rigid, or is this person very flexible as far as the coaching goes, and which one do you need? Some people need a very rigid coach. So, you know, do this, do this, do this. You know, those coaches are very good in accountability, but also some people need flexible coaching. I prefer to try and keep things a little bit more flexible because I feel like people are more likely to succeed if they enjoy the training, and there's so many ways to apply a concept. So I find a lot of coaches get stuck in certain methods, and really a method is just a way of applying a concept. So as long as we make sure that the concepts are being met, that we're following certain principles, we can attack it in many, many ways. There's so many ways to skin a cat. Okay, so flexibility versus rigidity. And then, of course, do you think that they care? Do they seem like they care? Are you just a paycheck to them? These are all really important things. I would always have a hard time finding someone to coach me. It's one of the reasons why I've never really had a coach. It's more because I don't think anyone would ever care more than I care about my training. So I've always preferred to not go that route, but it doesn't mean I don't seek help. I still call up people all the time and have long discussions about ways to work around things. But that's a big thing, obviously, is do they care? And then ultimately, as well, price and affordability are going to be a bit of a question. But if you're going to get a coach and you know this coach is better than that coach for you, and it's, you know, $50 a month, pay the extra $50 because you're putting how much time into your training, how much time into your nutrition and recovery. You might as well do everything else properly from the person you're going to trust the most. All right, guys, so I hope this brainstorm provided the tools to help you pick a coach or to decide if you even need a coach. If you have any additional things that I missed, feel free to throw them in the comments. Hit me up on the animal forum, and I'll see you guys next time.